Georgia is becoming a bit of a hotbed for redevelopment plans. Recently, the North Point Mall got slated for a partial demolition to turn half the mall into a lifestyle center. This is where I come in. Let's have a look at the mall and see what it's all about before that demolition happens. For a reportedly struggling mall that's set to be partially demolished, this place sure has a lot of people. Fortunately, we aren't in territory of butts videos just yet. But for those who complain I never show malls when they're busy, this ought to shut you up. North Point Mall arrived to the scene in October 1993, being developed by HomeArt. On opening day, the mall would host Rich's, Lord & Taylor, Mervyn's, JCPenney, and Sears, alongside an empty space for a sixth anchor. Rich's store in particular was of note, having been built as a tribute to the company's flagship store in Atlanta proper, which proceeded to close just a couple years later. Although the store is a Macy's today, much of the distinctive architecture and elaborate designs still remain. The mall stood up to be a hit early on, and would secure Dillard's to fill in as anchor number 6 in 1996, and along with it, a parking deck was constructed outside to handle more traffic. Mervyn's, however, would close in 1997, but would be filled in rapidly by Parisian. This would shift the mall towards a more upscale clientele. In 2003, the mall would receive a minor renovation to bring about more seating areas for patrons. The same would happen in 2004, but instead of seating, this would relocate a set of escalators closer to Sears. And around this time, the Cheesecake Factory would arrive to the mall as a premier outparcel restaurant. A walking path is also included to connect the restaurant to the mall, which is nicknamed the Yellow Brick Road. Although, in my limited research, it isn't exactly yellow. I did talk with one or two workers at the mall, and the general plan is to demolish the mall from this center court up to Sears. A bit interesting they do away with a decent JCPenney and food court, but what do I know? I'm no expert, just an observer. An idiot, even. "2005 would see the mall start to have some shifts in tenant rosters, with the most notable being the anchors. Lord & Taylor would shut its doors for the last time that year, followed by Parisian in 2007. Belk acquired the Parisian nameplate, but opted to open in the Lord & Taylor building instead, before closing in 2009. Von Maur would take the Belk space in 2010, completely overhauling the store to their desires. Meanwhile, the vacant Parisian space would be cannibalized for a 12-screen AMC theater in 2012, which was fully loaded with a bar, reclining seats, and IMAX capability. Fast forward to 2014, the Avalon, a large lifestyle center north of the mall, would begin operations, and a number of North Point's upscale tenants jumped ship for the Emperor's new strip mall. Yeah, that's what I'm calling it. This created some serious competition for the North Point Mall, and although it's not obvious, the mall felt it pretty hard. However, the mall didn't go down just yet, and performed another cosmetic renovation in 2019 to update its image. And while Sears would become Seared in 2018, things still didn't quite slow down here at the mall. Not even 2020 could stop it. In 2019, a redevelopment plan was announced for a partial demolition of the northern half of the mall, and final plans were announced in 2021. If these final drafts are approved, the northern half would be demolished in favor of a totally original lifestyle center. In 2022, however, it was reported that these plans hit a snag after a heated meeting between city councils and the owners. Whatever the case, I wish the North Point Mall and its current owners, New York Life, the best in the future. If those plans do go through, at least we'll still get half a mall in the end. For a live, relatively modern mall, North Point looks kinda cool. I particularly like the skylights and how they make the mall feel big, bright, and airy, and there is at least some artsy stuff going on in the center court. My only real complaint is that there's a bit too much white paint everywhere. If the mall had more color, or at the very least some contrast between different elements, I would be on board with this place all the way. After that, though, my problem stems more from the crowds. I can tolerate them and get through crowds, but I am not a big fan of them. Loud, noisy, too many eyes, and a lot of pressure to not do something embarrassing. Most would say this comes from my mental condition. I'll personally write it off as a case of misanthropy. I was never a people person. I also noticed that a lot of kids are just turned loose to run around in the mall, and for all intents and purposes, I don't like it. I don't hate children, I just don't want anything to do with them. They're loud, they're annoying, they smell weird, some are barely coherent, and some often cry at the slightest thing. Now, I get it, they're the future of tomorrow, doesn't mean I have to like them. And if you think about it, given the track record of people who really love kids, my dislike is probably a blessing in disguise. But let's put all that aside. While I don't like it, the crowds are a good sign that a mall still has life left in it. The more people, the better. I, ironically, have had to omit a few malls recently because they were way too busy. Like shoulder to shoulder, all seats taken, packed. You don't see that very often. Now, it is interesting that North Point is going to demolish half the mall anyway, even though that ailing wing is still usable, and even the empty Sears is being repurposed. I am wondering how much of this is to do with management trying to get ahead of something that they see and we don't. Malls, unfortunately, are considered outdated dinosaurs in this day and age, and at the cost of going off on a tangent, people are quick to use Amazon as a scapegoat and straw man of why malls are dying. If Amazon really is the killer, then why are we still building more strip malls? Why are lifestyle centers, which are basically malls with streets running through them, the new hot thing? People never like to talk about that part, And it's not like lifestyle centers are any more future-proof above malls, because I can point to a few lifestyle centers that are already dying and in bad shape. But that's a rant for another day. For now, it's time for us to pack up and for me to take a new friend home. I hope you enjoyed this walk around North Point Mall. What did you think about it? Did you love it? Hate it? Do share in the comments below. And feel free to share if you had memories about this mall growing up. Thanks for having me at Alpharetta, Georgia. And until next time, this is Doomie Grunt wishing you and the North Point Mall farewell and good luck in the future. Since this mall is about to change in a very big way soon, I decided to double the pictures in the slideshow. Probably should have put this at the beginning, but oh well.